What's up, my melons? Welcome back to the FreeMelon Society. My name is Martyr. Thank you so much for joining me. Today, I'm going to be sharing with you a little revelation I had while on vacation. So, I just got back from vacation to the Dominican Republic, and while I was there, I had a lot of great experiences. I went to a monkey sanctuary. It's this beautiful facility where they've rescued monkeys from Brazil and allow them open range in a large section of forest where they can just live and play, and then obviously interact with visitors. So I went and did that. That was a great experience. I took some day. It was a relaxing vacation. Just wanted to get away and get some sun, eat some tropical fruit, get away from the cold weather for a little bit. And that's exactly what I did. I spent a couple of days renting mopeds, zipping around the city, just seeing the towns, visiting little shops here and there, trying to find souvenirs, which I didn't really find much of. Really interesting just to pay attention to the locals, see the lifestyle, exploring the area. I really, really enjoyed that. One of the most exciting and notable episodes on this trip was I got my scuba diving certification, because it's always been a fantasy of mine to just be able to explore the oceans and explore the underwater marine life and get right up close, and scuba diving allows you to do that. It's amazing. And while I was back at home just kind of ruminating about the experience, I realized that scuba diving gave a very, very important lesson about life and about nature, and particularly about diet as it relates to this channel and what I'm trying to teach you guys here. So get your thinking caps on. We are back in the secret classroom, and today we're going to be going over scuba diving and how scuba diving can teach us about diet and natural law. Scuba diving is extremely dangerous. It is very dangerous. It is not something that you want to cheap out on, because there are so many dangers associated with this activity that are crucial to know before you go out and start having fun with it. Now, I'm not going to go into detail about it, but I just want to list very briefly some of the perils of diving that you might not have known if you haven't done your open water certification course. You have to understand equalization techniques and how to do that properly, and how to constantly remember to do it as you descend deeper and deeper as the pressure accrues greater and greater. So you're learning how to deal with ear squeeze, you're learning how to deal with mask squeeze. The pressure can affect the skin around your face in your mask. Sinus pressure if you have a cold or whatever. There are a host of overexpansion injuries. Overexpansion meaning if you are at depth and you start rising, so the pressure decreases. I just bit my tongue. And the pressure decreases, the water pressure decreases, then there's an overexpansion of the lungs and of the air cavities in the body that can create damage. You can have arterial gas embolisms. You can have pneumothorax. You can have subcutaneous emphysema. You can have mediastinal emphysema, with AGE or arterial gas embolism probably being the most dangerous of these overexpansion injuries. So you have to know the signs of these if they're happening, and you have to know how to not let that happen. You have to learn about and how to avoid decompression sickness. And what this has to do with is essentially nitrogen toxicity. There is no way to avoid the infusion of extra nitrogen in your blood when you go down below the surface under enormous pressure. When you're breathing highly pressurized gas, this forces nitrogen into the tissues. And as long as you are at that same pressure, the body can sustain this extra nitrogen. If you start descending too quickly, there's too much of a differential in the gradient of pressure, and nitrogen will start escaping too quickly from your tissues, and it will cause these bubbles to form, these nitrogen bubbles in your body, and that can cause a lot of problems. You have Caisson's disease, if you've ever heard of it. It has to deal with this nitrogen toxicity in the body. Nitrogen toxicity can cause severe joint pain, motor paralysis, loss of dexterity, unconsciousness, and even death. It's a very serious thing. You have to understand buoyancy control and how to use your breath to maintain a stable level of depth. If you go too high and too low too quickly, then it's a very challenging thing for the body to deal with. High pressure, low pressure, high pressure, low pressure. If you're not careful, it's very easy to do. You have to know about ascension techniques. You have to know safety stops. You have to know about the decompression limit. Decompression limit in diving essentially being the maximum time or limit that you can be at a particular depth where it's not necessary to stop at a certain depth for safety reasons before coming to the surface. So if you pass your decompression limit, you have to stop at whatever it is, 5 to 10 meters before you get to the surface so that your body can readjust properly. If you shoot up to the surface and you're beyond your decompression limit, that's potentially life-ending. Recognize that you can't travel on an airplane after a diving session, so you have to wait at least a day, 24 hours, maybe more, depending on the nitrogen level in your blood and how much that's been allowed to escape and be purged from your system. Usually 24 hours is fine, but there could be other circumstances where you need longer. You have to know nitrogen narcosis, right? And so again, this is having to deal with nitrogen and how long you can be at a certain depth. If you're beyond 30 meters, then what happens is you can get a dose of nitrogen poisoning, which can cause very strange behaviors. It gives you a euphoria. It makes you oddly fearless. Motor control is compromised, dexterity is compromised, decision-making is compromised, loss of self-preservation, dizziness. Again, it's that high pressure that forces a lot of nitrogen into the system, and beyond a certain depth, even if you're stable at the same level and you're not ascending too quickly, it's just the amount of pressure can have this effect on your body. So you have to know. And to be aware of all of these things at the same time, you need a dive computer to be able to track all of these statistics. You know, your intervals between dives. You can't dive again and again and again. So you need a computer to be able to calculate all of it. It's such a technical thing. And most of these things, if you're properly taught, are not going to be a problem. Just like any sport, you know, you got to know the dangers. There's this whole range of complex thinking that must go into this activity before you can do it safely and have fun with it. So here's the meat and potatoes of this little lesson. What exactly do I mean by this teaches us something about natural law and health and diet? How could this teach us about diet? You have heard me say, if you watch the foundation level course, that is a prerequisite to the subsequent videos that follow on this channel, right? If you haven't seen those, go back and watch them. It's the very first set of videos that I released on this channel. It's a 3-part series, fundamental to the understandings that are going to be built on. So if you haven't seen them, go back and watch those now. If you have seen them, then as a recap, you understand that I advocate simplicity above all else. When the world and when other teachers complicate things that should be simple, they are not acting with intelligence, right? They're acting with intellect, but without the support of natural intelligence. A mark of intelligence is when you can turn something very complicated, very complex into something very simple. All truths are simple in nature. All truth is or should be very simple to understand. It's only human thinking and reasoning that complicate things. Let's boil this down to the simplicity. Scuba diving. Is diving at depth and being able to breathe underwater something that is natural to the human being? Okay. The simple and obvious answer is no. Okay. There is absolutely no way that a human being, given its biological equipment, can do anything of the sort underwater for a sustained period of time like is done in scuba diving. Okay, you cannot do it. We do not have the biological equipment to be messing around for long periods underwater. Okay? We can hold our breath and we can train ourselves to hold our breath for a lot longer than the average human being. But we can't hold our breath long enough to the point where we would need to worry about all of the complications associated with scuba diving. So breathing underwater is unnatural to the human biology. We do not have the equipment to be able to do that. Any other fish who can actually breathe underwater, they don't have to worry about any of these things. They can ascend and they can descend, and they have biological tools that allow them to do this effortlessly. Just like breathing, it's never anything that they have to think about. Now, on the flip side, if you as a human being, or me as a human being, were to only worry about what I am naturally able to do with my body in terms of swimming, would I have to worry about all of these complexities associated with scuba diving? The answer is no. I would never have to worry about that. Any of it. I could just go into the ocean, swim in accordance with my capacity and with my limits, and I would never have to worry about any of these dangers. Now, Obviously, scuba diving is tons of fun and it's a magical experience beyond anything. So don't get me wrong, this is not to dissuade people from scuba diving. This is just making a point that's necessary to keep in mind because it will help you in your relationship to the food that you eat and the lifestyle that you live. And I'm getting to the point, okay? So what lesson does this teach us? It teaches us that when we drift beyond the means and beyond the capacities of what we are naturally able to do with our bodies, the second we do that is the same second that we introduce into the lifestyle or into the behavior a necessity for more and more and more complicated modes of thinking. More complexity requires more complex, sometimes abstruse, difficult to understand mental operations and things that you need to consider that were not necessary had you stayed in alignment with what you were biologically programmed to do. Okay? Do you see what I mean? So I want to go explore the underwater ocean. I'm not a fish. So now I've introduced into my life a ton of complexity that would not really be necessary otherwise. So would a bird ever have to be burdened with learning these complex patterns and protocols and dangers and whatnot? No, because a bird would never go under the water for any particular period of time and would never worry itself with this, okay? So it's when we step outside of the boundaries that nature has placed upon us, we now can no longer live in the same simplicity that we do when nature is just taking care of us within our means, within our biological means. If I stay within my biological parameters, then I don't have to put any thought, hardly, okay, being relative, okay, I'm not saying any thought, but I have to put very little effort into complicating my life when I'm working within my means. Now, of course, how does this relate to our diet? The world of diet is basically one huge endeavor into what is not natural for the human body to be taking in. The whole food industry, the restaurant industry, all of it, okay, all of it is working outside of the means that nature has prescribed for our bodies. Cooked food, okay, cooked dead food, animal products, all animal products. Intricate mixing and preparations, flour products, refined products, oils, and all these things. Okay, you start introducing all of these things into the body, none of which are natural to human physiology, okay? You're not a meat eater. The proof for this is just so, it's so obvious and clear. Again, watch the original lectures in this video. Read books about human biology and whatnot. We are not omnivores, we are not carnivores. We are in the herbivore family. Within the herbivore family, we are fruitarians, okay? We are frugivores, we're a frugivore species. Now, the type of complexity that we need to consider when we do all of these unnatural things is apparent in, anywhere in the dietary world. Go on Google and type in best diet, good diet. You're going to come up with so many confusing, contradictory, juxtaposing views and ideas and superstitions and religious, everything possible to confuse the hell out of you when it comes to diet. And all of that confusion comes from man's departure from what is natural to the body. Just like scuba diving, whole host of complexities that get introduced into the picture that don't necessarily need to be introduced to the picture so long as you stay within your means. So I'll give you an example. Nutritional deficiencies. This is largely something that only happens when you start plaguing the body with that which it is not supposed to deal with. So when you start eating cooked foods, meats, milks, dairies, intricate mixes, stimulating compounds, coffees, teas, sugars, salts, peppers, all of these things. Huge bowls, Buddha bowls, healthy Buddha bowl meals where it's a mix of 15 different vegetables and starches and whatnot. You complicate the crap out of your system, and now you start running into nutritional deficiencies. So now you got to start worrying about certain individual vitamins. You start worrying, you have to worry about B12 from meat eaters and vegans alike. Don't even think that this is a vegan or a plant-based problem. This is an everybody problem. Your body can't produce its own B12 when it's sick and when it's bogged down and when it's clogged up with all of the waste products from life. Then you get into these so-called experts that talk about, amino acid combining. You need to eat certain things to make a complete protein and all rubbish. Now all of a sudden, hydration is a big issue because the body is clogged with all of these things that sap hydration from the tissues. So the body clamors for more and more water. So now you have people adding water to their meals. Every meal they drink and they eat and they drink and they eat, adding more complication to the system. Look at the disease statistics. We have thousands of people dying every single day from easily preventable lifestyle conditions. So now they get sick, and now that they're on this med and that pill and that drug, and you injecting this bit of insulin, injecting that bit of whatever, right? All of these complications in life, all because we have drifted from our natural biological parameters. So it was in considering the complications of scuba diving and how none of it is necessary if you just be a human being and just swim for pleasure, but don't dive under the surface and pretend you're a shark, right? So I was thinking about this that made me realize, holy crap, this is a perfect analogy for how to live life. And you live your life in accordance with your nature, in alignment with it. You don't fight against your nature. You learn and recognize what your nature is. And then you conduct your life in accordance with that. That leads you to health and wellness. It's when you act in defiance of your nature that you either A, reap the consequences, or B, if you're not very, very careful, you have to introduce all of these other complexities into your life in order to deal with your departure from nature. Okay? Do you see what I mean? Do you see how this seems to make sense and seems to align very, very perfectly with a modality of natural living? And how, in terms of diet, do you live within your means? Well, the obvious way, the brain-dead obvious way, you have to eat only what is edible. It seems so simple. Eat what is bloody edible. That's it. Not eat what is edible after you add complexity and destroy it and change what it was, right? No. You have to take the example of the millions and millions upon millions of species on planet Earth that eat within their biological constraints and their limitations. And thus, they live very simply and have none of the complexities of human life. Now, because humans are elevated thinkers, okay, that doesn't mean that we have to introduce the complexities. It just means that we're misusing our faculties of conceptualization. Eating and dietary life can be just as simple as every other animal makes it out to be on the planet. Can you just bite into a cow and eat it? No. And if you can, it's disgusting and nobody wants to do it. Nobody. No human being wants to eat cow. None of them. No human being wants to do this because it flies in direct opposition to every single instinct that is inherent in you, even if you are a meat eater, right? You know this deep down. I don't care what you want to rationalize to yourself. I don't care what excuse you give yourself. You know that this is not a natural instinct in you. You know damn well that you do not want anything to do with roadkill. Roadkill doesn't make you hungry. Looking at animals doesn't make you hungry. It only makes you hungry because you think of animals in relation to the product that they become after processing, but not the animal itself. Because the animal itself would make you hungry if you were, in fact, biologically geared to eating that animal. There is no argument against this. I do not give one crap what people say. Sorry, I'm getting a bit heated because it's so frustrating. When I was in Dominican, I barely touched the buffet. I just went out to local vendors and guys on the street selling fruit, and I bought that and I ate it for the most part. Huge buffets. It was all inclusive every single day. I didn't eat it. Okay, I didn't eat. Why didn't I eat it? Because none of it's food, right? Now, does that require some magical strength or magical discipline? I mean, maybe, but not really. All it took was enough of me living with the understanding of what I am to be able to live in accordance with my body and the certain rules and prescriptions that entails. I did, however, have a treat. There was an item on the buffet menu that I thought, oh, this looks interesting. Okay, you know what? I'll give it a shot. I'll try it. And it was delicious. It was great. But that's not the normal modality of living. What it was tomato. They had this platter of cooked tomatoes. Cooked tomatoes with some oregano on it. Now, when I first saw it, I automatically dismissed it. I'm like, oh yeah, it's just, it's the regular thing. They added oil, they added whatever, salt and whatever. But I was just curious, so I asked the guy, is there any oil in this? Or is there anything besides tomatoes? And he was like, no, absolutely not. This is just fresh tomatoes with a little bit of oregano. So I thought, oh, okay. Whatever, I'm on vacation. I'll give it a shot. So I tried the tomatoes and they were lovely. But that's it. The rest of the time I'm just eating papaya, pineapple. I tried mayonnaise zapote. It was fantastic. And just other fruits. So anyway, I'm at the buffet and it's breakfast time. And for breakfast, luckily, they have fruits. And so they have papaya and mango. So I'm stocking up my plate with papaya and only papaya. That's it. That's all I want to eat. So I'm stacking the papaya in my plate. There's a lady beside me, and this was every day, okay? I got dirty looks every single day, right? That I decided to take fruit from the buffet table because I only pick one fruit and I eat it, that's it. And so I load my plate with this papaya. The lady beside me, she gives me this look. As if to say like, weirdo, oh, that's weird, what are you doing? You're eating just papaya? I look at her plate, she's got nonsense on her plate. Nonsense. Well, rubbish. She's got cheese, and she's got croissants, and she's got coffee, and then she's got some soup. She had some sausage and some bologna and just like rubbish. And then and fruit on top of that to add more chaos to the digestive troubles that are going to come. Just utter rubbish. And sorry, because this is why sometimes I get a little bit heated, because people who are ethically, morally corrupt, and ignorant and just lost and dietetically confused and confounded, they're the ones that are going to tell you you're crazy. It's a crazy world out there. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not telling you anything that you haven't heard before on this channel, but I just thought that this was a perfect analogy to really reinforce how these concepts of natural law work. When you act outside of your biological limitations, you add complexity in your life that need not be there if and only if you were smart and wise and mature enough to understand what you are and recognize that and live in harmony and accordance with those natural injuncts. Okay? The answer to all of the health complications is, again, so bloody simple that nobody chooses to recognize this. Not nobody, but the vast majority of people are absolutely clueless to how simple eating and living should be and is, if you only recognize what you are. The foundation upon which all other knowledge should come must rest upon recognizing what you are. If you don't know what you are going to be thoroughly confused for the rest of your life. Then you're going to have to believe all of these outrageous beliefs and theories about diet, and it's going to make no sense because you don't have any proper footing in what you are. But if you know 100% what you are, you eliminate all of how many sharks out there are confused as to what they eat? Do you see sharks debating amongst each other, having these lengthy, long, drawn-out battles back and forth that last 3-4 hours talking about the merits of one particular diet and how another particular, oh, I'm a shark, but I do better eating nuts and seeds and Mediterranean wraps. Oh, but no, I think you should have a mix of this and that, and you need to have this supplement in it. Oh, but that's unhealthy. Do you see sharks ever doing this? No, a shark knows absolutely what shark food is, and that's bloody meat. That's it. There's no confusion. It's so simple. That's all they do. That's all they do because they know what they are. Life can be this simple for you too. You have to know what you are. You are a fruit eater. You are a plant eater. That's what you do. That's what you are designed to do. Primarily fruit. That is what these things that I'm making all these gesticulations with, these tell you that you are a fruit eater. Can you eat some nuts and seeds if you want? Sure, you can. Can you eat some vegetables here and there, the ones that are edible that you don't have to modify? Yes, you can. But ideally, fruit is what you eat. And when you do that, right, all those hydration complications, all of these disease and illness complications, all of these other complications that food experts have labeled as normal complications that we all need to consider, all of this vanishes and life becomes just one beautiful, harmonious ride. And the energy that you save not having to worry about all those things, you can do other things. Okay? So, anyway, that's my spiel for today. I had a lovely trip, a lovely vacation in the Dominican Republic. Scuba diving is so much fun. I definitely plan on doing it again. But I just thought that this recognition of how unnatural scuba diving is, I mean, I couldn't ignore it, right? And all of the complications that come with scuba diving are only extant so long as I decide to act outside of the means of my biological restrictions, okay? And there is a danger associated with that. There is also a danger associated with living outside your biological means when it comes to health and eating and morality as well. Acting outside of your moral range. It takes a lot of maturity, okay, and it takes intelligence to recognize that. But for people who do, they are acting under higher forms of responsibility. They are more ethically and morally mature than those people who are not acting within those means. Okay? And I'm referring to this whole institution of meat eating. The most flagrant and ridiculous practice when it comes to human beings who have no business at all, no necessity to eat these animal products in a developed nation where access to food that requires no such slaughter is everywhere at our fingertips. To choose slaughter when it's not necessary, that is a mark of an immoral being. And if that's you may be doing it unconsciously. That doesn't change what it is. It doesn't change the behavior. The behavior is absolutely immoral. Anyway, I'm going off topic. Thank you very much for joining me, guys. Subscribe to the FreeMelon Society. We always have new videos. I haven't uploaded as much recently because I've been on vacation and doing the whole, the holiday thing. Anyway, we've got more stuff coming up for you, so stay tuned, subscribe, share this video with other people that might benefit from it, and I will see you next time here in the secret classroom on the FreeMelon Society.